Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Office Hours with the Professor. As always, I'm your host, William the Professor Collis, and let's get right into this week's news story. We're talking about 8 top esports teams partnering with Guild of Guardians. Now, what is Guild of Guardians, you might ask? Well, it's an upcoming mobile-based blockchain game. I believe its alpha is launching later this year, 2022. And what's happening is that these 8 top teams will be integrated into the game as essentially playable characters that can be traded. And you might ask which teams are involved. Well, some pretty big names. You have Team Liquid, you have Fnatic, you have Cloud9. There's actually 7 teams joining NRG who had previously done a deal with Guild of Guardians last year. I've been told I should cover more stories that I give high grades to. I guess you guys like grade inflation. I do too. So spoiler alert, I love this story. Why do I love this story? Because I think it highlights the power of scale activations with esports teams. And let's talk about why. First and foremost is just more is better, right? The fact is, when Guild of Guardians did an activation with NRG, I didn't really want to cover it, on Office Hours. Or if Office Hours had been around the time, I probably wouldn't have wanted to cover it, right? It's just more interesting. It shows a bigger commitment. Scale is its own disproportionate value here. So that's the first thing, just more is better. But the second piece is more is better for a reason. There's real economies of scale here. Let me give you an example. When just NRG had done their deal with Guild of Guardians, what could you really do with the NRG character in the game? You could be NRG, that was it. Now you can play NRG versus Cloud9. You can try to collect all the 8 top team playable characters. And if you're someone who wants to represent your team in the game, you now have more pressure to do so because there's more allegiances to represent. And so more people will also be self-representing, right? There's disproportionate scale advantages to multi-team activations. But then the last piece of this, and what I think is interesting, is how this is being done as pre-marketing, right? And I want to stress this because I think there was an old school approach to marketing in esports, which was, it's a competitive scene. We'll see where the game goes and let the grassroots sort of figure it out and guide us. And that approach, I think, is really dead. The fact is, esports is a content channel nowadays, just like Twitch, right? It is a channel that you have to have a marketing plan against. And I think we're going to see more and more developers and publishers having really rich esports activation plans, regardless of how competitive they think their title is, because it is a customer channel that they need to be reaching. So overall, I give the story an A+. I love sort of the big risk here that Immutable Game Studio and Stepico Games, who are the publisher and developer here, sort of have taken, with this large partnership. I love that these 8 teams are working together here. And I want to stress, I think this really highlights the value of scale esports team partnerships and esports pre-marketing. So an A+, and I hope you join me on another episode of Office Hours with the Professor next week.